You're welcome back to the Gavel. Now, federal lawmakers at the Senate and the House of Representatives during the week gave attention to economic issues in the country. We saw both chambers condemn government agencies' indiscriminate granting of waivers and concessions to several companies for importing rice and other products. The Senate approved some interesting resolutions on this matter, and you'll see this in the next report. Now, federal lawmakers in the upper chamber also invited for discussions the Minister of Finance and the CBN Governor, who they feel have some explanations to give as regards how the Nigerian economy is being run. The Senate is raising an alarm that Nigeria has lost 447 billion naira in waivers, concessions and grant scams between 2011 and 2012. The chairman, Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Import Duty Waivers, Concessions and Grants, Senator Adamu Aliru, while presenting a report at plenary during the week, revealed how government agencies have been abusing import duty waivers. He said companies, namely Dangote Nigeria Limited, Elephant Group, Ibeto Group, as well as Stallion Group and Olam International, among others, are beneficiaries of a discriminatory application of waivers, grants and concessions on rice and several products.
The gross abuse of process by implementing ministries, department agencies, especially the Budget Office of the Federation, that continued to abuse ministerial presidential approval process through reliance on stale delegated power by President Umar Musa Iradua to Dr. Shamsuddin Usman. The Minister of Finance, via letter reference number PRES-87 on 27 May 2008, to act without recourse to Mr. President, Tariff and Tariff Review Technical Committee.
Senator Aliru also says custom duty waivers and concessions have been used by the Budget Office of the Federation to entrench a very destructive patronage system to the economy, where very few operators in the economy were singled out for favors, resulting in unfair competition in the system.
But totally undeserving firms and companies that illegally enjoyed custom duty waivers, concessions and grants procured through flagrant abuse of executive powers must be made to refund such huge revenue losses to the Federation, and the appropriate sanctions meted out to them for economic sabotage.
The House of Representatives is also directing its Committee on Finance and Public Accounts to investigate tax waivers that are currently being granted to multinational companies in the country. The resolution made by the House was taken with a view to reducing tax waivers and achieving economic objectives. The sponsor of the motion said there is little evidence that these tax incentives have increased investments.
The House is concerned that Nigeria is foregoing about $2.9 billion a year in form of tax incentives, which are being used as a substitute for policies that could genuinely attract more and better investments, such as ensuring good quality infrastructures, reducing the administrative costs of setting up and running businesses, and promoting predictable microeconomic policies.
The majority leader, Femi Gbajabiamila, suggests that the resolution to investigate these tax waivers should not be limited to foreign investors only.
I believe a lot of the abuse is also perpetrated by local companies. So when we go into this investigation, I believe we should make it wholesale and not limit it to foreign investors. This investigation should cover both manufacturers, importers, and the foreign investors.
Other lawmakers agreed that the policy on tax incentives has made little or no positive impact on the nation's economy.
We cannot legislate. We cannot legislate by way of emotion. I do not believe that, while I agree with the intendment, I do not believe that what this House seeks to achieve is going to be achieved by yet another motion. So I believe that those issues concerning waivers and taxes should come under the umbrella of
one policy that is all-encompassing.
Meanwhile, the Senate is summoning the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, to brief lawmakers on the monetary and fiscal policies adopted to salvage the economic situation in the country. The Senate is taking this decision after a federal lawmaker, Senator Basi Akpan, drew the attention of lawmakers to a report from the National Bureau of Statistics, which states that the Nigerian economy has plunged into a recession. Senator Basi says the decline in gross domestic product (GDP) and the high inflation rate clearly shows that the country's economic policies require an urgent review to avoid a further plunge in the economy.
This Senate further observes that the report unemployment rate rose to 12.1% in the first quarter of 2016 from 10.4% in the last quarter of 2015. This Senate is further deeply worried that the continued complexity of the current state of our economy, if allowed unchecked, will set the tone for a full-blown economic recession by the end of June next month, 2016, as already confirmed by the Central Bank of Nigeria in her Monetary Policy Committee meeting just of yesterday. I think we have a responsibility, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to invite the Governor of the Central Bank and the Minister of Finance to brief the Senate so that we must be able to agree on the modalities that will be deployed to salvage the economy of this great country.
While the Senate awaits the appearance of the Minister of Finance, the House of Representatives had a session with her during the week as part of its ongoing sectoral debate on diversification of the Nigerian economy. At the interactive session, the Minister of Finance says the federal government is being cautious as it plans to invest the over 6 trillion naira pension funds. She says the federal government has set up a committee to look into the financial impact of waivers that have been given by the government.
It'll interest you to know that a committee was put together to look at waivers and look at the financial impact of waivers. Over the last 5 years, we have given away 1 trillion naira in waivers. It is quite significant, and we believe that it needs to be looked at. Import duty waivers alone, 503 billion. VAT waivers, 227 billion. We are now going to look at what is the cost benefit of these waivers, what are the jobs that they have created. What we found is that they have been abused in some cases. What we found is that the technology that is used to manage them or the methods used to manage them are manual, and therefore there's a lot of manipulation, which we intend to address. I was asked also about the infrastructure gap and measures to attract pension funds and foreign investors. The pension money is, a lot is said about the pension money. We have 6 trillion and people treat it as if it's just available for the taking. This is people's future savings. So we have to be very, very cautious about how we release pension money into investment. I think the first thing we have to do is to relax the rules cautiously and with many safeguards so that we don't lose pensioners' money and cause a problem in the future. But definitely we're going to put things in place, such as the infrastructure bonds that we're releasing, that will encourage pension funds to invest, but invest safely.